Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Corn Productions, my co-host Stacie, here to talk about Sullivan's Crossing, Season 1, Episode 3, Detours. The episode's description reads as follows. Sully gets tired of Andrew, who returns to Boston. Maggie's lawsuit gets worse after trying to contact the plaintiff. The town gathers to celebrate the Mi'kmaq, the first inhabitants of Nova Scotia. A girl camper runs away. Now, I know you're usually skeptical of my pronunciations, but this one I happened to look up and to actually practice, and you should very much be skeptical of my pronunciations because they're usually pretty bad. But anyway, the episode was written by Carrie McDonald. She wrote the first episode of the series and has one more to go for the season. The episode was directed by T.W. Peacock. He directed 2 episodes of the series, this one and the very next one. Before going any further, I'll tell you a couple of things. One, this is not a spoiler-free podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode, I highly recommend you go and check it out, and then come back and give us a listen. Secondly, if you're on one of the platforms that this podcast is now available on, please subscribe. You can also head over to my YouTube channel, Corn Productions, where additional content can be discovered. If you're already on my YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, as well as subscribing to our channel. Shout-outs this week. One for Skylar Anderson. He was very moved by our shout-out last week, so I'm giving him another one.
Is Skylar a he?
Well, I looked into his profile, and it seemed to be a picture of a guy.
Oh.
So I mean, unless that's his or her dad. So maybe I shouldn't be assuming that.
You should never be assuming, no.
You can let me know in the comments if you're, yes, these days you should not assume anything. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you prefer to go by.
How you prefer to be shouted out.
Yeah, exactly. Also, shout out for Ashley Wright, who is a guy. He commented he doesn't watch the show. He's just a fan of us in general.
Yeah. Our number one fan, I'm going to say. Commenting on every show we talk about.
Everything. So, Stacie, your thoughts on this week's episode?
Okay, so my reaction to this episode was that we took a turn, right?
Yeah, absolutely did.
Tonally, this episode is a shift from what we saw in the first 2 episodes. And you even described last week, you were like, oh, this shows like a slice of life. We're just watching these people's lives. But suddenly there's stuff happening in these people's lives that's, bigger. Now,
unfortunately, I got spoiled by the twist regarding Frank and what happened to him. I had 2 reactions when I, besides being annoyed, to this. And the first one was, okay, this seems a little bit out of place for what so far has been a low-key drama series. And my second one was basically it hampered my enjoyment in watching the first time through of the episode because I spent my entire time wondering, oh my God, when is Frank going to get shot? Now, watching it the second time, I had a much different experience. Now that I knew how everything played out. Watching it again, I was watching the subtle ways in which we were led there. Right. And I thought that aspect of the episode was very well done. Like, slowly leading it up to that. And subtly. Very, very well done, in my opinion. And yes, it is a tonal shift, but I don't think it's totally out of place for the series, the way it plays out. I do have some issues with how the incident happens. I'm not totally convinced by it. I watched it 15 times, and I still couldn't tell you what exactly happened with that gun. But we'll, of course, get there. Yeah, so there's a lot of things I love about this episode. Once again, we have some subtle writing. That's one thing I absolutely love about this series is that they oftentimes, as we've talked about before, don't hold our hands.
Right.
They, they're just kind of subtle in the writing.
Yeah, everything's, like, a lot of things are... You know a lot of things without being told them. Mm-hmm. Like, you read between the lines and you pick up the clues of what they're talking about. And, sometimes that's also said directly, and other times you just kind of live with those assumptions, right? And maybe we're wrong about some of them, and maybe some of them will be more important, and maybe they won't. But I think it's good writing when you don't have to have your hand held.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I think that's definitely a key strength of this series, in my view. Do we have anything that we want to add before we go on into our play-by-play? Scene by scene?
No, let's just hit the episode.
All right. In the sober morning, Andrew and Maggie wake up. They're not getting as along as well.
Yeah, remember they went to bed Not on the best of terms the night before.
I thought they were like, actually, no, they were okay.
They were okay, but there was some tension there.
Yeah. But I think they were getting along when Maggie was drunk as opposed to, suffering from a hangover in the morning.
Yeah, true.
So Andrew is leaving to go do surgery. He invites Maggie along, but she doesn't want to go. She feels safer being here with her friends. And Andrew gives her some crap about Cal, walking her home the previous day.
Was he one of those friends? And she's like, oh, no, I just met him.
Right.
Which, they've become pretty good friends by this episode.
Yeah, so she's kind of downplaying that relationship a little bit. And this whole jealousy thing from him kind of pisses her off.
Yeah.
And the reason that he acts like this is because he apparently had some history with his ex-wife who cheated on him.
Right. And again, they didn't tell us that directly, but she was like, I'm not your ex-wife. Right. This isn't fair. Mm-hmm. But also, we learned in episode 1 that his divorce was just finalized. So they've been dating for 2 years. Mm-hmm. Were they dating while he was still with his wife? Or did it take 2 years for the divorce to go through?
I mean, it's quite possible that they were separated.
Yeah.
And they were dating during that time.
But we don't know that either.
Right, of course. We don't.
So I feel like maybe things were bad on both sides of his marriage.
Right. Yeah, probably. Okay, so he goes downstairs. He ends up talking to Sully. He's trying to bond with Sully. He's trying to basically... getting good with Sully because, from his perspective, Maggie is his daughter. But he completely fails at this because Sully is not. Yeah,
he's trying to chit chat, but everything he says wrong. He even talks about, Maggie's home with her mom and stepdad, which really hit Sully the wrong way.
Well, yeah, the thing is, Andrew is not necessarily a bad guy, but these guys are coming from completely different places.
Right. He doesn't know how to just chit-chat and have a conversation with him.
He makes his comment about, if I'm going to stay here, I'm going to need a bigger bed.
Yeah.
I'm going to have sex with your daughter, am I right? Up high! I mean, he's not quite like that, but he might as well. I mean, my jaw really dropped when he said that. Like, what are you doing, dude? But anyway.
And then he talks about glamping. He's like, I know camping. I've been glamping before. You should try that. Mm-hmm. And he's trying to be helpful, right? He's like, hey, this might help your business if you offer these, these glamping services. But Sully's just like, no. What are you talking about, city dude?
Yeah, and Sully ends up calling him by the wrong name twice.
He refuses to get his name right.
I am totally positive he did that on purpose.
He absolutely is doing it on purpose. He called him Aaron and Alex. It was a very Bewitched moment. Did you ever watch Bewitched?
Oh, yeah, one time.
Yeah, where the mother-in-law just refused to say her son-in-law's name. She always got it wrong on purpose.
So, yeah, basically he's sending the message, hey, dude, Andrew, you're not important to me and you're not gonna be. Sorry.
Yeah. And Maggie... she's not very happy with him either. She said she's going to go for a run. She called him a cab. And this is what we learned. So remember last week I was like, oh, he drove 10 hours to come apologize to her. He gets credit for that. Well, we realize now he didn't drive. He flew in.
Okay.
So he lost a little bit of that credit that I gave him because that was a little less effort on his part. He didn't drive 10 hours. He flew probably, an hour or two.
Right. So credits, that's where our credits are, and so far Andrew's off to a bad start this morning. Maybe if he eats some Wheaties, his day will get better, I don't know.
No, but he just had some coffee, some regular drip coffee.
Right, as opposed to the organic stuff?
Yeah, well, he's just like, oh, is this one of those artisanal blends?
Right. Yeah, it's pretty clear that these guys, have no connection whatsoever because they come from completely different worlds. Yeah. So after the credits, he's outside. He makes another attempt to basically get back in good graces of Maggie.
He's apologizing to her. He said he doesn't want to leave on a bad note.
And she seems to accept that apology, but she also seems a little bit more ambivalent than she is actually saying.
Yeah, we again get alluded to the fact that his ex-wife cheated on him. Mm-hmm. Maggie seems as uninvested in this relationship as ever.
Right, and so am I for that matter.
Yeah.
So, Maggie, if you don't care, neither do I. But, so we then see Maggie going on a run. She gets a call from her lawyer. He's not happy with her because Maggie called the woman that is suing her. And what's her name again?
Claire Markiff.
I know the actress. I don't actually remember the character's name. She tells her that that was a bad move And he's like, don't help me. If I need your help, I will tell you.
So now Mrs. Markiff has added harassment to the lawsuit as well.
Did she actually do that, or is she just threatening to do it?
I'm pretty sure he said she did that. She added that to the lawsuit. Now, I knew it was a bad idea for Maggie to call her. Like, as soon as that happened, I was like, Maggie, what are you doing?
Right.
That is the worst thing you could possibly do. So obviously that was going to come back on her. But I don't know. Is dialing someone's phone number once and not even talking to them, not leaving a message or anything, is that really grounds for harassment charges?
I mean, maybe not, but I think it's probably enough for her to at least claim that there's some harassment.
Enough for her to get the message like, hey, back off.
Right.
Don't try to call me again.
Right.
But like, yeah, I can't see that being...
It's probably not going to hold up.
Yeah.
But still.
Being like, you dialed a phone number. That's harassment.
Right.
So if that's the case, I don't know. We get a lot of silly calls. We should start suing people.
Right. All those telemarketers, I am totally suing them for harassment. All those people looking for money because I'm behind on bills, I'm suing them for harassment. Anyway, moving along. We cut to Rob. He's at his house. He sits down or lays down with his son. His son is excited because he's going to be going to play some kind of championship baseball. I assume it's baseball.
Yeah, baseball.
Okay.
And we finally get to see more Finn. We've only got a few seconds with him before. We got to see a lot of Finn in this episode. And this continuing storyline throughout the episode between Reed Price's Rob and his son Finn. And I have a lot to say about that situation as it unfolds. But so in this scene, Finn's really excited that his dad's going to get to see him play.
Yep.
And Rob has to announce that he has to miss it because the caterer canceled and he has to help Lola with the land blessing.
Right.
And, I do love that about this writing is we're not told. We're not like, we're having this ceremony and this is what's happening. And we're not given all the details up front. They're sprinkled in, right?
Yep.
We were like, Lola, what are you helping Lola with?
Right.
What's the land blessing? What are you talking about? And they aren't presenting it like, here it is, let's tell the viewer. We're just seeing it. It feels more real, right? Because we're just seeing it organically play out in these people's lives. As opposed to them, making it always sound like they're talking to us.
Right.
So Aunt Sid's going to take him to this tournament, and Finn's very disappointed, expresses that Rob always misses his games. So at first, here, I'm like, okay, you're missing your kid's baseball game because you have to work. It happens. It sucks, but it's not a big deal. It happens.
Right.
And again, I'll have a lot more to say about that as we continue and learn more about this situation.
All right. So Maggie goes to the Shannon's Diner, which is closed because Rob is helping with the land blessing ceremony that we just learned about, to start the season with Lola, who's organizing it, which seems to annoy Maggie because Sully usually does
it. So Sully... Okay, so usually Sully has the party at Shandon's.
Okay.
Is what she said. Why are they having... Why is the party suddenly going to be at a different place?
Right.
And both Maggie and Sid seemed a little confused by that, but she was just like, I don't know, Lola's planning the party. So I think it was the fact that Sully gave responsibilities off to Lola.
Gotcha.
Not that she took over the whole thing, but just that she's changing stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so Maggie asks Sydney about Raph and Sydney says that there's no strings, no complications. It's exactly what she needs. And, by this, this is television code for this is going to become an issue.
Yeah.
But Sydney ends up asking her about being walked home by Cal. And Maggie says that, hey, I came here to escape from the drama and the gossip. I have a boyfriend who just visited. He's gone now. He's off the surgery. And Maggie isn't sure if she's upset about that or the fact that she got left behind.
Yeah, and I think it's the latter. I don't think she gives a crap about him.
No.
But she's really jealous that she can't go do surgery.
I also don't give a crap about Andrew.
Are you jealous you can't do surgery?
No, I wouldn't recommend me ever doing surgery. My boss actually asks me to do it all the time because she has all sorts of health problems. She's always like, fix me. Okay, I'll go to, medical school and learn how to do this. Or maybe I'll just watch a YouTube video and I'll be able to do it that way.
Totally.
Yeah. But anyway, no, I'm not jealous about Andrew going off to surgery. I just don't care about him because I'm not really supposed to. Okay, so
Sydney tells her, go home and change. Meet me at the utility shed. And we're going to do something to cheer you up.
Mm-hmm. Like, whoa, that sounds pretty hot and heavy there. Anyway. So where the hell am I? I don't know. I'm in the basement talking to you about Sullivan's Crossing. But yeah. So I'm trying to catch up on my place, exactly where I am.
Okay.
Okay, so we cut to Cal and Sully. Yes. They end up bonding.
They're prepping for the ceremony.
The little mark on the calendar thing, I'm pretty sure, is in reference to this trip that Cal is going to end up taking.
Right. Sully asks him about the trip he's going to take. Cal says it's still a few weeks away. So we still don't know what it is, but it's definitely that's what he circled. It was something to do with a trip, which I'm sure is going to become an important thing later in the season.
Yes. I mean, obviously we're highlighting it, literally circling it.
Right.
So it has to be important in some fashion.
Yeah.
So Edna wants Sully's help in doing something.
Loading stuff into the car to take up to the spot where they're going to do the ceremony.
But Sully is picking up some loose planks on the dock to avoid another lawsuit in the family. Edna doesn't find this very funny, but Sully says he isn't being funny.
Yeah, he's like, I mean it. Like,
right.
And Cal looks very curious about this because he doesn't know about Maggie's lawsuit yet.
Frank gets help from Edna with his garb, and they get all lovey-dovey, which ends up grossing out Sully, but Cal thinks it's very lovely. He's clearly a hopeless romantic. Sydney's idea is to cheer up Maggie is apparently to go canoeing.
Canoeing, yeah, and in my notes I have Sydney takes Maggie camping.
Wow.
Great job note-taking, Stacie.
And this makes her skeptical because she doesn't think that this is going to be a good idea. She hasn't done it in forever, but Sydney ends up talking her into it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Sully reveals to Cal that this land that they've all been on has been passed down in the family for generation from generation, from his grandfather to his father to him. His father, Sully's, wanted it to be a sanctuary for people from all walks of life, including someone like Andrew, for instance, but he doesn't seem to want it to be a sanctuary for him. But maybe that's because he's, bragging about doing his daughter. But anyway, so Sully wanted to carry on that legacy. And his actual name is Harry, and Sully is more like a nickname.
Which we knew that already.
Did we? Okay.
I mean, IMDb told us that.
Right.
I didn't pick up on the fact that we didn't maybe know that in the show yet.
Mm-hmm.
But Cal didn't know it. This is news to Cal.
Right.
So yeah, maybe they're not as close as I felt like they were.
I
that
guess
he doesn't even know Sully's name. But yeah, everybody in the family, they were all H names, leading down to Harry. But of course, it stopped with him.
Right.
Because not only didn't he have a son, he didn't name his daughter an H, and doesn't look like she's going to inherit the campground.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens next?
Yeah, that's very curious. Well, I mean, based on, what we saw last week, it might just get straight up taken away from him and end up in the hands of the bank.
Yeah, that's a concern.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's going to play into the season for sure. Meanwhile, Rob asks his son for help, and his son still doesn't understand why he can't watch him play. And Rob says he'll make it up to him, and Finn for now seems to accept this. Meanwhile, Sydney and Maggie are canoeing less than successfully.
Yeah, Maggie has kind of forgotten how to row. Seems like it's been a very long time since she's done this. But the adventure seems to have helped improve her spirits. She's smiling. She's having a good time, which is, what Sid's goal was to cheer her up a little bit, get her mind off of all of her problems.
Right. Sully and Cal, meanwhile, are replacing the board. Cal says he envies Sully for a sense of roots, of having, his family in this one area. He never had that. He had to move around a bunch. Sully had bigger dreams at one point. He was in the city, but he realized that Sullivan's Crossing was the place for him, and he wanted to raise a family here, which, of course, didn't really work out for him. They end up seeing Sydney and Maggie in the water. Sully lets Cal finish up, and I was curious as to why. He sees his daughter, and he decides to hightail it out of there. Is that because he's avoiding Maggie, or is it because he senses Cal's attraction to her and wants to give them some alone time?
I thought he was just busy and moving on with the next task.
So I'm looking too deeply at this.
Maybe he was trying to give them some space. I don't know, but
because he looks at his daughter, he looks at Cal, and he kind of like takes him in, and then decides he needs to move on. So I was kind of curious if there was some reason for that other than he was just simply busy and wanted to.
Yeah, maybe he's really hoping Cal can get rid of Andrew.
maybe that's possible. So Sully calls Cal a good man and then takes off. The girls end up on the dock. Cal helps them out. Maggie thanks Cal for walking her home, and he hopes that he didn't cause any problems, though I'm sure that's not true. I'm very much thinking that Cal very much would love to cause problems here, because I'm pretty sure he would like to take a crack at breaking up this relationship. I mean, not directly. He's not going to do anything specifically to do that, because he seems like a good dude, but still, I think he wouldn't mind at all if he did, in fact, cause problems. Maggie takes another crack at the name, calling him Calamari or something like that. Calamari, that's right. That's what I didn't write that very well in my notes, but yeah, so that's our fourth attempt at that. Eventually, she's gonna get it right.
I still think his name's just Cal.
Yes. Okay, so Maggie ends up at the store with Edna. Lola comes in freaking out about the blessing ceremony. So,
Maggie taste tests some punch that Edna's making, and Edna asks her to go refill the sugar bowl. Now you said Lola came in, and Lola's very upset. She's freaking out over every little detail that's going wrong. And Maggie starts very angrily slicing some lemons.
That's the angriest lemon cutting I've ever seen.
Which was very strange, because you're supposed to be filling a sugar bowl. Instead, she just starts randomly cutting lemons. I was absolutely positive she was about to cut her finger off.
Yeah, I was thinking she was going to, get a cut
herself.
I
covered my face. I was like, oh, God, she's going to cut herself.
In addition to Frank getting shot, Maggie loses a finger in this episode.
Vasily came in and calmed down. Lola offers to help her with everything, and Maggie was really upset by this. She was like, she's a grown adult. How come she can't handle stuff on her own?
Right. So we get more insight into what the whole Sully Lola thing is. It is not, in fact, a torrid affair like I suggested last week. It very much is more like she became more like a daughter to Sully, and this bothers Maggie to no end, because I think she feels like Lola ended up replacing her as the daughter, basically. Right. Okay, so Sully warms up the crowd at the ceremony.
The land blessing ceremony.
Right.
Yeah.
For Frank. Cal wonders about Maggie's boyfriend, and we get a piece of info that Lola and her mother moved in with Sully after his wife left him, and I'm not quite sure on why that happened.
So a couple of years after Maggie left with her mom to Boston, Lola and her mom moved in. So I took that as the mom was dating Sully.
Okay, that makes sense.
And they all moved in together.
Okay.
So that would that would make their relationship like stepfather, stepdaughter, although I don't think they actually got married. I don't see any reason to think that, but I think they were just living together, and Sully was dating the mom.
Did we learn exactly where her mom is?
No, we did. Her mom hasn't been mentioned except for now. And the fact that the mom isn't around helping with the grandpa, I'm wondering if perhaps she died.
I mean, that makes sense because no, not the mom, because that would be her grandmother that died. That was married to Rory. So
yeah, we know the grandma died.
Right.
Hasn't been. So either the mom died or left and isn't giving a crap about her family anymore.
Right.
And you know what I just thought of?
What?
Something that happened later in this episode. And I don't remember exactly where that happens, but it's much later in the episode. But I'll bring it up now because it just connected to a thought I had. I know last week you made some reference like, oh, did Sully lose a child? Did a child die? And something later in this episode made me think maybe you were right. I saw another hint that could have been a possibility.
Okay.
And I'll tell you when we get to that. But
all right.
What if Sully and Lola's mom had a child that died?
Oh, okay.
I'm wondering if that's a thing.
It might be.
Maybe even died in maybe they both died in childbirth. And maybe that's it.
Maybe.
Where it would have been like Maggie's half sibling.
Right, okay. So what's going on here, by the way? You asked me to look into this because you said you weren't going to really do that. You were relying on me for this.
Yeah, so Frank and Anna take over the ceremony, and what did you find out?
Yeah, okay, so this is the smudging ceremony, and from Google. Smudging is a cultural ceremony practiced by a wide variety of indigenous people in Canada and other parts of the world. The smudging is a practice of burning various medicinal plants to cleanse ourselves and connect us with our spirit and with the Creator. Sage is burned in smudging ceremonies to drive out bad spirits, feelings, or influences, and also to drive out bad spirits from entering the area where the ceremony is taking place. That's what I managed to get in the quick blurb that I could possibly get. If anybody else has some insights on the specific ceremony that's going on here, feel free to leave that information in the comments, and I'll shout you out, of course. But yeah, that's what I was able to get.
Okay.
So after the ceremony, Lola thanks Cal for his help with her grandfather, and Cal says, well, that was all Maggie. And she doesn't thank Maggie.
Yeah, this is the second time
right.
that Lola has approached two people that were involved in something and thanks Cal only.
Right.
And here it definitely was to slight Maggie, but last time it was Sully that she didn't thank, who was also like standing next to the Cal when it happened. So very much has interest in Cal.
Right.
I'm still getting that vibe.
So she says he was very sweet with him, while Lola's pretty much side-eyeing Maggie.
Yeah.
And Maggie asks about her grandfather, and Lola barely acknowledges this conversation. She does answer the question, but barely acknowledges that Maggie asked it. And as they leave with Sydney, Lola is very clearly checking out Cal's ass. That was
I missed that.
She's looking down. It was completely not subtle at all.
So they're heading...
This is some interesting characterization from Lola here.
I don't love Lola.
No.
I don't think...
We're supposed to, necessarily?
I mean, I don't think I find her malicious in any way. She just seems like kind of oblivious and needs help. I feel like she needs help in her life. She's not very independent.
I also need some help in my life.
She's not doing a great job taking care of her grandfather. I think she's just kind of floating along a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't hate her. I just don't love her.
Okay. So it's like somewhere in between.
Yeah. I mean, she's just kind of there. But I feel like Maggie is overcritical of her, though.
Yeah, probably. I mean, because there's clearly a jealousy.
But we also don't know what happened when they were 15.
Right.
Something happened. Something specific happened, which I'm sure we'll learn more about. So where they're heading to is the Hatfield Community Hall for some food and music. And this is the place where Lola had decided to have this party instead of Shandon's, the after-ceremony party.
I mean, it seems to be a bigger place.
Yeah.
Shandon's is kind of a weird place for this type of party.
Right. And, Shandon is still providing the food. And that, Sully had even thanked them during the ceremony for providing the food. But my question is, why isn't the party happening at the camp itself?
Yeah.
Like at the place where they had the bonfire?
Yeah. That was a good place for a cookout for everybody.
Right.
So why not have it there as well?
So I'm really confused about the geography of all of this. Like, so the land blessing is for the camp, or it's for like the whole region? And the camp is sponsoring that event, but we're not doing this at the camp? Or is the Hatfield Community Hall within the camp?
Right.
Or I'm really confused about how all this works.
Yeah. And I think I'm especially confused later on in the episode, specifically the whole Frank situation at the end. I'm not even sure where on the grounds that takes place.
Right. Because is the park, Sullivan's Crossing, is Sullivan's Crossing a bigger, like the whole forest, and their campground's just in it? But then why is it named Sullivan's Crossing?
Yeah, I'm not really clear.
If he doesn't own the whole place.
I'm not really clear on what the situation is here, and hopefully we'll get some clarification.
I know I'm confused. I know there's a layer to it that I'm not understanding.
Right. On
how between this town and the woods and the camp and how it's all related to each other.
Okay, so we end up seeing the campers we met in the first episode.
Yep, the Smith family, and I knew they were going to become important.
Remy, played by Albert Boyle. We talked about him before. And Chelsea. She resents babysitting duty. And I have a question for you. Here's a poll question for you. Okay. Who is a worse babysitter? Chelsea or Julie from Prom?
Right, you see my notes? This reminds me so much of Julie and Ethan from Prom.
Right, okay. So on the one hand, I think Chelsea does a better job.
Chelsea does a better job, yes.
But she has way more attitude than Julie does. You know, with the same responsibility.
Julie was just a little careless. With her brother on multiple occasions. But this very much reminded me of that situation where the big sister's asked to take care of the little brother and isn't so interested in doing that.
Right. Inside, Sydney isn't staying for long because she's going to be taking Finn to the baseball game. She's going out of town for that.
Yeah. So okay. So back to that situation. In this moment, we learned it's a father-son tournament.
Okay. I missed that part.
Yeah, it's father-son tournament, and Sid's like, I'm going to be the only chick there. What am I doing?
Right. Oh, okay.
So, earlier I was like, you're missing a game because you have to work. It happens. There's lots of games. But this isn't just a game. It's the father-son tournament.
Oh, wow.
So, Rob, why can't you go?
You know, I'm sure Sydney could just stay here and do everything that Rob is doing.
Exactly. So, Sydney's still here. Finn is here. And they'll continue to be here for like a few more hours.
Right.
People are eating. The food's already served. Your job was to cook the food. The food's cooked.
Yeah.
Everybody's serving it.
Yeah.
It's all ready. The party's in full swing. Why can't you leave and let Sid take over? One of you's leaving.
Right.
You're both capable. You both run the diner.
Right.
Why can't he go?
That's a good question. Yeah.
To the father-son tournament.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm like, wait, what? That's a bigger deal.
Right.
That's a bigger deal. You should not be sending your sister to the father-son tournament. You should be sending her to do the work.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. I didn't think of that at all, to be honest with you. I actually missed the whole father-son tournament thing.
So Rob asks Sid to entertain Finn because he's bored, and she sends him to go look at the fire truck. Connie and Rafe are outside. Kids are like taking tours of the fire truck and checking it out. And Rob's like, I should have gone to baseball. So go.
Right.
You did what you had to do here.
Right.
Now take your son and go to the father-son baseball tournament.
Yeah, I mean, everything that Rob does, Sydney could also do. So I'm not really clear. And now that you bring that up, I'm not sure why he couldn't have just gone.
So Sydney goes outside with Finn, and her and Rafe exchange some pleasantries.
Oh, I put in Jackson, which I know is clearly wrong.
Wow.
Yeah, so they end up talking, and he basically asks her out on a date. He wants to make it more of a thing, like a serious thing. And she's not down for that.
Yeah.
And he's very disappointed, but she offers up a, hey, I'll think about it, because that makes it all
she's
better.
like, I'll think about having dinner with you.
Right.
Because we learned earlier, she's happy with their arrangement. She doesn't want a relationship. Okay, also in this scene is where we learn specifically that the baseball tournament is out of town.
Right.
She says, we're going to be gone for a few days. More than ever, why isn't Rob going?
Right.
You're not going to this few day thing because you had to stay here and serve food for an hour?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
It feels like things are under control here. I really don't get it.
Okay. So Chelsea, meanwhile, is being a typical teen. She's mad at her mom. She ends up pissed off and ends up talking to Maggie, who notices her. She says she doesn't feel like she fits in here. It's a campground. Like, you're here for, a week, a couple of days at most.
Well, okay. That's something I had to say about the camping situation. We learned in episode 1, they're spending the summer here.
Oh, okay.
Like, that's something that came up in that conversation the first time we met them, is this is where they're spending their summer.
Gotcha.
I mean, I don't know how long they're considering that, but they're a long-term stay. Yet, we learned that they're in a tent. When they said they were here for the summer, I expected them to be staying in one of the cabins.
Right.
I look at the tents to be like a weekend trip.
Right.
You know, you're staying in a tent.
Yeah.
That's the quick stays. But when they said they're going to be here for the summer, I really thought they'd be in one of the cabins.
Right.
I don't blame Chelsea for not wanting to spend the whole summer in a freaking tent.
No?
That seems weird.
Yeah, I'm with you. So she says she gets so mad, she feels like she could just run away. And okay, so Sully's later going to give Maggie crap for this, but this is a very easy comment not to take seriously.
Right.
Because it's delivered so flippantly. Like, I might make a comment like this. Oh, I'd just be like running away.
Yeah. Or,
like,
hey, I could murder you right now.
Right, exactly. So and later Maggie's going to feel bad for this too, but I don't think she has anything to feel bad about. I could very easily see, pretty much anybody not taking this comment seriously at all.
Like, really, Maggie's place in this conversation was, hey, I understand you. Mm-hmm. I understand feeling like you don't belong.
And as far as I'm concerned, as far as Maggie's concerned, she kind of resolves the problem. She says, "Oh, well, I can give you a landline to contact your friends."
She says, "Come to the outpost later, and we'll let you borrow the landline." So, because she one of the things that Chelsea was complaining about is she doesn't have a cell signal, she can't contact her friends.
Right.
So, yeah, Maggie's being helpful. She was providing, support for this girl, setting up a friendship. Yeah, I don't think that Maggie had any idea that more needed to happen.
Right.
And you're at this party, there's like hundreds of people around.
Right.
It's not like, looks like this girl's in danger.
Right, exactly. So meanwhile, Jackson and Rappy arm wrestle.
Raffy?
I didn't mean Rappy. Rappy is a totally different character in a different series completely.
I'm pretty sure his name's pronounced Rafe.
Rafe, okay.
I think. It's either Raph or Rafe.
Well,
I think Rafe.
At least I'm getting closer.
I mean,
okay.
That's what we do.
Anyway, Jackson ends up winning this, and his father's in the background talking to Sully, and initially I completely missed the fact that he was talking to Sully. I thought it was another buddy. But Sully mentions, your wife is finally letting him apply to the police academy or whatever, and his father says that his wife was just overprotective, and the force is more inclusive than she thinks. This is another example of subtlety in writing. Yeah. If I didn't know that T. Thomason was transgender, I wouldn't have any clue what this conversation was about, but I would know something was up. And we would make assumptions, maybe he's gay, maybe this or that. But like I said, they don't just outright tell us, and that feels very real.
Yeah, because it's authentic.
Yeah, you wouldn't necessarily in a conversation be like, oh, my transgender son or my gay son, like, you wouldn't talk like that.
Right.
So this is more examples of
them just showing us a natural conversation, and then we have to figure out, well, what exactly are you guys saying?
Right.
From an outsider's perspective, not having the same information that these characters have.
Right. So Jackson seems unhappy with these comments for some strange reason.
Yeah, I don't know if Jackson doesn't want to join the Force or doesn't think the Force is inclusive.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Jackson's issue here is.
Or maybe just doesn't want to work with his dad.
Right.
I don't know. But the dad is Tom Kennedy, and he is played by Hugh Thompson.
Hugh Thompson. Not to be, I'm assuming they're not related, correct?
I don't believe that Hugh Thompson is related to Shelley Thompson.
Or
T. Thomason.
Right.
Say all of that fast.
This is really confusing. All right. So Sully introduces the police captain, and what is this guy's name?
Tom Kennedy. I just said it.
Right, you did just say that because, I have a goldfish
Tom.
memory.
His name is Tom.
Tom, okay.
And you know how many times I wanted to write Tom when I was typing Rob?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Ooh.
He gets called away for a raccoon problem. Someone has a raccoon in their cabin or something like that.
Yeah, she thinks I didn't write down the name, but she seems to be a frequent caller with concerns, and she thinks there's a raccoon in her pantry. Last week it was a field mouse. Tom is not all that excited about going to do this because he was hoping to really spend some time with Jackson today.
Right. And Frank, he says this to Frank, and Frank offers to go instead. And if Frank doesn't do this, he doesn't get shot.
Right. But he's like, yeah, wild animals, that's, I've got experience with wildlife rescue. That's more my territory. I'm going to make sure the raccoon's safe and taken care of. And also during this scene, Tom invites Maggie to play pool with him, Frank, and Sully. She declines because Lola comes up and gives Sully his lunch. She made him a plate. Again, Rob looks like the food's all under control. You got plenty of people serving food.
You're really beating up on Rob today.
I am. I need him to go take care of his son.
Okay. Well, you should let him know that. Edna and Frank end up dancing before Frank has to go. Callie, wow, that might be it. Callie Anyway, Cal and Maggie watch them.
Okay, so what? Maggie is watching them dance very longingly. You can tell, like, she's missing this kind of connection in her life, right? Cal is watching Maggie watch them.
Oh.
Yeah, like he was watching her.
Somebody's in love. Anyway, Cal thinks that they are the most beautiful couple. Cal and Maggie talk some more. Cal says that in New York, he kept to himself. But, every once in a while, he danced when he had the right partner. Yeah. And he's clearly attempting to shoot his shot here.
Absolutely. He's trying to ask her to dance. And as far as the New York thing goes, he was mystified that Maggie knew he was from New York. Right. But he has a New York license plate is how she knows that. So she's paying attention to details, too. I think he's kind of impressed that she's paying attention.
Right. And at first, his attempt to put the moves on are interrupted by Sydney, who's saying goodbye because she's going to be gone for a couple of days. She's taking Finn to the game that you very clearly outlined that she doesn't really need to go to because Rob should be doing it.
He should be doing it.
But then he's also interrupted by Chelsea's mother, who's looking for her daughter. And at this point, she's not panicked by the situation. She's just kind of curious, have you seen this kid?
Right.
But then the father comes in and says, oh, I think she ran away.
Yeah, her backpack is gone from the tent. She's not answering her phone. Yeah, and Maggie was like, well, we just spoke to her, so we're going to help you look.
A search party is organized. Everyone seems involved. Raph seems to be the one taking charge. Everyone else is wandering around, yelling Chelsea's name. Chelsea, where are you?
And we get a look here at the this orange search and rescue vehicle that Rafe and Connie are using. And this confirms to me that is a separate thing from the ambulance and the EMT work they were doing.
Well, that's good news.
So now we've seen these two characters, Connie and Rafe. These two people are running 3 different emergency service vehicles. They're running this orange search and rescue. They're running the fire department with the fire truck. They're running the ambulance. I really hope that there are other employees that we just haven't met yet, and it's not literally these 2 people taking on 3 roles.
Yeah, that would seem to be an awful lot of work. The moral of the story is do not get in trouble here.
Don't get in trouble, no.
Because the likelihood of getting help from anybody is very, very slim. Sully and Maggie walk, and she admits that Chelsea said something about running away. And Sully gives her some undeserved shit for this.
Yeah, he's like, if you told me, we could have avoided all of this.
Yeah, like I said, that comment was made in such a way that it was very easy to not take seriously. In response, she basically suggests to Sully that he go and look for Chelsea with Lola's help, and she walks away.
Yeah, she's like, well, go do it with Lola.
Yeah.
Clearly expressing her jealousy here.
Mm-hmm. Jackson suggests that the parents use the Find My Phone app, which ends up leading them to a gas station.
Now, I thought this was funny. Mrs. Smith had no idea how to do that. Jackson takes her phone, literally clicks 2 buttons, and knows where Chelsea's phone was.
That's pretty good.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't work that easy.
Right, and this is the same guy who didn't know how to use a fax machine or didn't even
know
what
it
a fax machine was last week.
I mean, I don't know. Don't you have to install an app and then you actually have to know the phone number you're looking for? And if Mrs. Smith had no idea what this was, she wasn't far enough in the process that he was going to click 2 buttons and get the answer.
Jackson is just that good.
Her last known location was the Gas and Go in Timberlake.
How far is that from here?
Well, we don't know.
Right.
Because you can walk there or spend, a 30-second montage of driving, which seemed pretty far.
Okay, so Cal and Maggie drive there. The attendant says she got in another vehicle an hour ago.
An hour ago?
In a gray SUV.
Which, it doesn't even feel like it's been an hour since Maggie spoke to her.
Right. Yeah, so, the timing a little here is a little wonky.
I'm so confused about the geography and the timing and how long things take. How far is it?
Right.
How long did it take her to walk from the campground to this place? And then it's been an hour since she left. Yeah, I'm very confused.
So Maggie and Cal go back to the campground and let everybody know what happened, that the situation has been upgraded.
Yeah.
The search and rescue woman says... Connie says that basically they now have a radius of, she can be anywhere in here, but she's traveling by vehicle, so, that radius expands.
This was how far
she
could have gotten in an hour.
Right.
And then so this is where it comes back to the geography of this place. Their response was, let's check the perimeter of the camp. Is the camp an hour drive wide?
Right. Yeah. I don't know. But Jackson's father says, Tom, he says that he'll put out a bolo, which is like a police way of finding.
Be on the lookout.
Yeah, be on the lookout. And you heard that a lot with The Wire and other shows of that type. Frank, meanwhile, is done taking care of the raccoon.
Yeah, so he's in the woods. He puts an empty animal crate in his vehicle, giving the impression that he collected the raccoon and has finished his quest, setting him free in the woods.
And Frank hears some noise in an area where people aren't supposed to be.
Before that, we get a scene. The Smiths are talking with Edna and Frank.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they're talking about how they can't lose Chelsea. They don't know what
they're not talking to Frank.
No. I do have Frank in my notes. They're talking to Edna and Sully.
Right, okay.
Wow. Too many names in my head. Edna offers to go make some tea.
Mm-hmm.
And, she'd make a great assistant for Mrs. Lou.
Yeah, there we go.
The diner and from.
Yeah, we got a tea reference.
Making tea for people.
Yep.
Are people who listen to us who don't watch From are going to be like, what do you guys keep talking about?
Well, then, hey, go check out the show From, and then watch out our other podcast on From.
Yeah, and Reed Price is in it.
Yes, absolutely.
And Bob Mann.
Mm-hmm.
Which are two faces you'll recognize from this show. Okay, so not Frank, Sully looks really upset and concerned during this conversation where they're talking about a possibility of losing a child. And Edna just kind of gives him this reassuring look and pats him. So on first viewing, I thought he was just concerned about their missing child and trying to find her. But on rewatch, this is where I really am leaning towards the suggestion you made last week that Sully may have actually lost a child.
Okay.
Like, he just seemed to have this look on his face like he knows what that's like to lose a child. And I don't think he's talking about Maggie leaving.
That wouldn't make sense for him to make that connection.
Yeah.
To Maggie specifically.
So I think you might have been onto something.
Okay.
And then we go back to Frank.
Yeah.
So he's come upon a vehicle in the woods, and there's a no trespassing, no hunting sign, and he hears shots.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
And he ends up going to investigate.
He mumbles something about poachers.
Right.
And he brings his shotgun with him.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Edna is expressing concerns about Frank to Sully, and Sully says he'll go look for him. We cut to Cal and Maggie. Maggie says that maybe Sully was right. No, he was not. He was not right that she should have said something about her running away, the kid, Chelsea. But yeah, so Cal's being reassuring.
Yeah, basically we're checking in with where everybody is at this moment. Most of the people are looking for Chelsea. Sully's looking for Frank.
Mm-hmm.
And then we meet back up with what Frank is doing, walking in the woods. And
now, the people that we happen upon here, the kids, they are the same people we saw in the
These
diner
are the same
week.
two idiots from karaoke night, which is just the night before, I think.
Which is funny because they are not credited in Internet
They're
Movie
not
Database.
credited in either episode. I couldn't figure out who they
are.
Well,
I think one of them was credited last week, in the last week episode, and the week after, but they were not credited in this episode.
I couldn't figure out who they were.
I mean, I think
on the credits.
I think I might have found one of them specifically, but it's too bad that we don't have Rob here to tell them, carry around a bat and be like, when you're done, you're done.
I think Rob maybe should have shown him his batting skills the night before, because these two idiots are clearly a problem.
Yes, and you know what? I would actually love a spin-off series with Rob being a vigilante, walking around with a bat and be like, when I say you're done, you're done. I waited all week to make that joke.
It was just the one of the two guys at first that Frank's talking to, and he asks for paperwork on his gun. He's really acting like he has some jurisdiction here. And the kid's looking at him like, who the frick do you think you are? Just some dude coming up on me in the woods. Like, back off. We're just having a good time. And he makes some comment about the beer can. Says, you really shouldn't be drinking, while handling a firearm. And the kid's like, those aren't ours. Sure, they're not.
And Frank gives him like a really amused, come on, kid. I know these are yours.
And then the other guy comes up, and guess what? Chelsea's with them.
Right.
The missing girl is here. This is who she got in the car with, was these two idiots looking to go have a good time.
Now, back to the geography question.
Yeah.
Where the hell are we within the grounds on the campground?
I have no idea.
Like, we can't be that far.
We're not that far. Like, he was on his way back, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. But she's hanging out with these two guys, and
how old is this girl? Because she doesn't look that old.
She's a teenager. She's probably 15.
Yeah, and how old are these guys?
20s.
Yeah.
I mean, they were hitting on Maggie and Sydney.
Right. Which
pretty hard at the bar.
Yeah, that's okay. That part of it's okay.
No, I'm saying they're in their 20s. They were drinking at the bar.
Right.
They're at least, in their
21.
20s.
So, yeah. They're
possibly older.
They're inviting all sorts of trouble here.
Yeah.
They're hanging around with a 15-year-old girl shooting firearms while drunk.
Yes.
And in a place that's clearly marked no trespassing. So yeah, these two are complete morons.
Yeah. So the second guy proves to really be a moron.
Yes. He ends up, I don't know exactly what happens here, but he's like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" I'm like, I don't understand his attitude for starters. Like, he just happens upon the scene. Why is he being immediately belligerent to someone who's talking to your friend? And then the gun goes off somehow.
Accidentally. I mean, I don't think he intentionally shot him.
I watched this 15 times. Like, it happens within a millisecond. It's really hard to tell what the hell actually happened.
What happened is he's drunk and holding a firearm.
Well, okay. But, like, I don't know. Does he accidentally pull the trigger? Does it just, like, shoot itself?
I think he was just holding it wrong, and it went off. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it went off in Frank's direction. He got shot right in the chest.
Yes.
Chelsea tries calling 911, and we already know her phone doesn't do anything. Mm-hmm. She's trying to call 911. The shooter takes her phone and was like, "I'm not going to go to jail for this. It was an accident."
Right.
Well, maybe you're at fault. Otherwise, you're not going to be worried about going to jail for it.
Right. And then the other guy's like, "We can't just take this girl with us."
Yeah, so now at this point, they want to take her with.
Which, oh, by the way, could be considered kidnapping.
Absolutely. They're kidnapping her because they take her away against her will. She's trying to pull away. They physically take her into the truck and leave. And Frank lies on the ground, bleeding out.
And that is where the episode
ends. And Sully's still looking for him, and hopefully they find him quickly.
Right. Yes.
And I'm assuming we're going to depend on Maggie to patch him up. I'm sure that's where this is going.
I don't think they're going to kill off Frank.
I
3 episodes into this new series.
He's a main
series
character.
Regular.
Right.
And speaking of series regulars, there's another point of interest. Neither Lindora, who plays Sydney, or Reed Price, who plays Rob, in the series are in the series credits. I don't understand why not.
Right.
Because they have just as much screen time and just enough presence as the rest of these people.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they are listed like in the main credit, like the end credits as main cast members.
Right.
Right, but they're not in the credits as far as like where their picture comes up, but their names come right after that.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's kind of like they're not like main cast.
They're the bottom of the main cast list.
So not worthy enough of being.
Yeah. Well, listen, they're working on season 2 now, and I really hope that we fix that for season 2. I want to see both of their smiling faces in that opening.
Yes, me too. Maybe Rob with a baseball bat pointing it in my direction. Anyway.
Also, I wonder, like, we're watching, the CW play of this. Are we getting the same credit scenes?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Is it the same as what they originally aired in Canada? I mean, maybe not.
Right, possibly.
Maybe they changed that, the CW. I have no idea.
Yeah.
If someone has watched both feeds, I'd love to hear about that. If we're getting the same music, the same cuts, the same, opening song with the credits and the pictures, is it all the same, or are there differences? Perhaps that's something that Skylar, who was clearly a fan in Canada because they have watched all the episodes thus far, could clarify for us. So yeah, that was the episode. Pretty good. Like, on the second viewing for me, it was like a better watch than the first time because of all the reasons I already listed. But yeah. Yeah, so to summarize, Andrew went home. Their relationship is not in a good place. Sully's not interested in their relationship being in a good place. Sully would probably be cool with Maggie and Cal dating. Yep. Cal is also not interested in their relationship. Cal is clearly interested in Maggie. Yes. I don't think Maggie's admitted that she's interested in Cal yet, even to herself, I mean. We got to see some more of the Shandon family. Yep. And I am disappointed in Rob for not going to the baseball tournament.
I mean, to his credit, he feels at least guilty about it.
I also want to point out, during this whole search and rescue, like in the second half of the episode, I don't recall seeing Rob during any of that.
I was curious about that.
So,
because I don't... Yeah.
Where is he?
He's maybe just hanging out back there, you know.
Still serving food?
Yeah.
To nobody?
Hey, where did everybody go? Well, this party sucks. I should have gone to that baseball game.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, maybe he's out there somewhere and we just didn't see him for some reason.
Maybe he's doing something else important.
Mm-hmm.
And
maybe beating up people with baseball bats who drank too much.
And was Edna? Oh, Edna was watching the kid Remy.
Yes,
she took care of him. So maybe Sully's with them,
right?
Or maybe Rob is with them.
Yeah,
wow.
Sully is currently looking for Frank.
Sully's out looking for Frank. Maggie and Cal are together, and I'm sure we're going to pick up immediately where we left off and deal with that situation. I saw in the credits, or not the credits, but the
preview, which I still didn't watch.
The trailer for next week. It looked like it didn't really give us a lot about exactly where we're going, but it was, Maggie and Cal getting closer together, of course.
Aww. Okay. Do we have anything else to say about this episode? About anything else that you want to talk about?
No, I'm looking forward to episode 4.
Yes, it should be interesting.
Thank you all for checking us out. If you're here just for Sullivan's Crossing, we also cover other series as well, so be sure to take a peek at that.
All right. Stacie can be reached at?
I can be reached on Twitter X, Instagram, and Threads at TVN Coupon Talk.
If you like this video and want to support the channel, there are a number of ways to do so. You can join one of my Quorum Productions Facebook pages. You can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can buy something from the Quorum Productions store on Zazzle. You can buy me a copy, which is a new way to support content creators such as ourselves. And of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video, as well as subscribing to our channel. This is Dave and Stacie from Quorum Productions, signing off.